Second show, Austin, I present to you one of my funniest pals, the host of the Joe Rogan Experience. See how loud you can get when I say the name, Joe Rogan, everybody.
All right, getting serious. Robin Williams.
Oh, that's sad. It's just sad. You know, it's sad when anybody has depression. And when a guy who's so beloved doesn't feel it and kills himself, it seems almost impossibly tragic. You know, I met him. I met Robin Williams at the Hollywood Improv, and I didn't know it was him until I was in the middle of talking to him. I did a show, and there was a line of people after the show that were taking pictures, and I was taking pictures of all these people, and this guy comes up and he starts telling me, he's just being really complimentary, telling me he loved this one bit that I did about dolphins, and then I'm looking at him and I'm realizing, holy shit, this is Robin Williams. Like, I thought I was just talking to some guy. In the middle of talking to him, like, this is what he was. There's no pretense, there's nothing weird about him. He's a giant movie star. He waited in line with all the other people. And he had a hat on and glasses, and I didn't know it was him. I literally didn't know it was him until he was like 2 minutes into our conversation.
That you are here. That life exists and identity. That the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse.
What is your favorite comedy bit of all time by someone else, and then what is your all favorite of yours?
I don't have a favorite of my own, but my favorite of all time, it would have to be Sam Kinison. I worked at this place called the Boston Athletic Club, and this is before I ever thought about being a comic. I was probably like 19 years old. And I was working at this place, and there was this chick behind the counter that was my friend, and she was going on about this Sam Kinison guy. I saw Sam Kinison on HBO. Oh my God, it was so funny. She goes, he did this bit about, so she did the bit. She did the Kinison bit for me. She got down on the ground and did the whole bit. It never ends! It never ends! Oh, oh! So she's doing that in the parking lot. She is doing an impression of Sam Kinison. She was yelling out the bit. And so I went, God, I gotta see this. So I went out and got a VHS copy of it. I saw it, or somehow or another, I watched it.
Did that almost spur you into wanting to be in comedy?
That was the first time that I ever thought that I could be a comedian. Not because I was like as good as him or anything like that. What it made me realize is like, oh, that's comedy too. Like, comedy is not just those guys that I love watching on Evening at the Improv. I used to love Evening at the Improv. Like, they would have all those shows, the guys would get out there in their blazers, and they would say something really funny, and then the next guy would come up and he would do the same thing. And they all had like sort of a similar pattern. I really loved it. Like, I was a big Jerry Seinfeld fan, and I loved, you know, there's so many great comics from that time. Richard Jeni, who's a big Richard Jeni fan. But out of nowhere, this Sam Kinison guy comes along. And I saw what he was doing. He had a t-shirt on. It was a cut t-shirt. He had a long coat on, like a trench coat, and a backwards fedora, like not a fedora, but one of those like Kango hats. And I remember watching him do it. I was like, wow.
Is he your favorite?
He's my favorite for 1 year. I think for 1 year, Kinison was the greatest comic ever. I think in 1986. But I think he's also a cautionary tale because he was such a brilliant comic, but he's so haunted by demons. Like, if you want to listen to Mark Maron has a fantastic account of like all the times like he was hanging out partying with Kinison when he was coming up. He was a young guy and he worked at the Comedy Store and he did blow with Kinison and they told crazy stories. Mark said that they did so much coke that he heard voices in his head for a year.
Wow.
Which is crazy. And
then
it took its toll. It's what I'm saying is it took its toll on his performances, on his comedy itself. Because I think in that first year, before he became like Sam Kinison, the megastar, he was hungry and he was creative and he was doing a lot of like really groundbreaking stuff. I mean, there's some people that think that, you know, some of it was like misogynistic or homophobic, and, you know, there's good points to be made.
But it's real, so what? It's comedy.
But there's points
That's
to be made like
tyranny,
that.
trying to tell people not to tell dirty jokes or
Well,
funny jokes
well, I
or
think
cultural
there's points
jokes.
to be made like that in other art forms too, in movies too. I mean, there's funny movies, there's great movies that show, you know, horrible things that you really shouldn't do to people, but they're great in movie form.
General, what do you think about the FBI saying that there's a terror alert on Monday about a potential 400 situation?
The police are shoving people, shoving Alex, shoving the crowd.
Here we go, folks. I'm being assaulted.
Whether it's the radio show, the news websites, documentary films, or the nightly news, InfoWars is the tip of the spear.
Is this another false flag stage attack to take our civil liberties and put more homeland security while sticking their hands down on the pants on the streets?
It's up to us to set brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere, and that's what PrisonPlanet.tv is designed to do.
You watch, the Assad regime is going to be blamed or accused of using chemical weapons against the so-called rebels.
What we see now is a war against reality. It's a war against the truth.
It's more vital than ever that supporters of freedom become members of PrisonPlanet.tv and share their membership with up to 11 friends and family. Visit InfoWarsNews.com today. Become a member, share your membership, and help take the InfoWar to the next level.